Hey guys, this is Sarah with Soki Design Studio, and I don't know about you, but I love scrolling on Facebook Marketplace to see what kind of treasures I can find. So I found this chest of drawers for only $30. Now, as you can see, there is a lot of veneer damage. I have never seen so much veneer damage. General rule of thumb, the cheaper the piece is, the more work it will be, but I saw potential and I just had to have it. So I am starting like I do most of my pieces. I'm taking the hardware off, I'm covering up those hardware holes, and I'm applying stripper. I'm not sure what kind of paint and sealer was used on this, but I could definitely tell there was a glaze on it. However, long story short, the stripper did not work. I do not know what they put on this thing. So I grabbed my trusty heat gun and stripped away that top layer of paint one little scrape at a time. So you can see on this side, there looks like some type of heat or water damage. The veneer had bubbled, and so I wanted to go ahead and remove that while I was removing the paint. I removed what I could and then decided I will just be patching that area up to even it out later. I do want to say it definitely looks like they used primer under the paint, so I will give them points for that, but they just painted over a lot of damage. With vintage and antique pieces that have small little details like this, or any kind of detail really, I love to try and keep that. However, this detail, the wood was so soft and damaged that it was not going to last the restoration process, so I decided to go ahead and take that off. With the amount of damage that the veneer had on the drawer fronts, it had to go. So I got a damp rag, an iron, and I would let it steam over that veneer, and then it would scrape off easier. So I definitely recommend this technique if you do ever need to remove veneer. And I may be a little weird, but I thought it was kind of fun and kind of relaxing and satisfying. So there's that too. So I did decide to use stripper on the remaining paint on this entire chest. I didn't want to put my sander through this, so I grabbed the stripper, applied it, scraped all that remaining junk off, and then I decided to sand it. It's just easier. So this chest of drawers definitely had a lot of steps go into it, but I'm hoping it's worth it at the end. All right, now that everything is stripped and dry, I decided to sand it down. Now, y'all know I love my Surf Prep sander. However, it's in the shop. It needed some bearings replaced, so I sent it off to California to get that repaired. So in the meantime, I am using my DeWalt orbital sander as well as a little palm detail sander, and I'll show you that in just a bit. For some reason, some people think that once you strip that you don't have to sand it, but I hate to tell you this. I know people don't always like sanding, but it is still a very necessary part of the process. When sanding after stripping, I start with a 120 and then I go up to a 220 before moving on to the next step. So I was out of a few things and decided to stop what I was doing and head to Lowe's. So I grabbed some shellac, some wood glue, and then some quick wood for the repairs that were needed on this piece. So a pretty common theme with all of these drawers is that they had loose dovetail joints. So in order to fix that, I put some wood glue on there. Now this one wasn't as loose as some of the others, so I got it in those little nooks and crannies best I could while separating that joint. And then I will add a clamp to that and let it dry overnight. Drop it. In order to sand the curves and getting all the nooks and crannies without my surf prep, I improvised by using the Surf Prep Pro Foam pads with my detail sander. Here I am using Bondo wood filler, and this is going to be to repair that side where the veneer was warped and I had to remove a lot of it. So I am mixing up wood filler, and then you add a little bit of that hardener, you mix it all together and you apply it. It does dry within 15 minutes, so I do like that, but you do have to work fast. So this dresser had a trim detail at the bottom, but there was a lot of damaged wood. So I grabbed some Bondo glazing putty, and I'm just going over that surface in the middle just to create a smooth surface where it's going to fill in any little gaps or gouges. It's hard to capture in the video, but there were also little missing pieces of wood at the bottom of this trim. So I grabbed some quick wood. This is a very easy wood epoxy. It comes with the two parts already together. You just pinch it off and you mix it together. It kind of has a Play-Doh clay consistency. So you make sure it's mixed until it's a consistent color, and then you can apply it. So I am applying it, and I did have to do this in a few different rounds. So I'm trying to recreate at least the height and width as much as possible for this trim piece. Now it doesn't look good yet, but it will. Just hold on. In the meantime, my husband is working on adding extra braces to the bottom of this chest. It was just a little bit too wobbly, and so we are making sure, well, he is making sure that it is sturdy. After the quick wood is dry, I start to sand it. So at the bottom, I'm just sanding it smooth, but then I am taking a wood chisel to try and shape, or at least get closer to the shape I'm looking for before I sand it to have that rounded edge. Okay, so next step is to create a smoother surface. I am going to do a grain fill. So I basically just take some wood filler, add some water, and then brush it on the entire piece. And as it dries, it's going to fill in any little gaps that is naturally in the wood grain. And then you can sand it smooth, and it's going to fill those in and just give you a nicer, smoother surface. This is not a necessary step. This is just something that I wanted to do, especially since we've got the veneer, which is mahogany, and then the drawer fronts at the bottom that I had to remove the veneer from. It's just going to create a more consistent look, but this is absolutely not necessary at all. Just, preference. But it is a dusty mess, so make sure you're wearing your proper PPE. Get a mask on. If you have like a vacuum attachment for your sander, I definitely recommend that as well, because there's no getting away from this dust. A small thing that you can do if you're trying to make your furniture look professional instead of DIY is, if you notice any gaps, grab some caulk and fill those gaps in and then smooth it out. It makes a huge difference. I decided to use shellac instead of a normal primer that I would typically use. I decided to do this for two reasons. Reason number one, there was a slight smoke smell on this dresser. It aired out and I got a lot of it out, but there was still a little left, so I wanted to make sure I took care of that, and shellac is a great way to do that. Reason number two is to block any bleed through. So this will be a painted piece, and this is mahogany veneer. So if you are painting something that is mahogany or cherry, or even something like pine that has the knots showing. Those can all cause bleed through when you're painting, and you don't want that to show through your paint. So I'm using shellac. You can also use a stain blocking primer. Either is fine. I did a couple of rounds of shellac, but I still sanded in between just to make sure everything was smooth. So all the hard work is finally done, and I am getting ready to paint. So I'm putting little extra screws in the hardware holes so I can move the drawers easier. And then I'm also taping the sides and tops of each drawer so I can block some of that overspray from going in there, because I do spray with the drawers in. So I get to use one of my new favorite tools. This is the Erlex 5700 from Wagner Spray Tech. It creates a beautiful finish. I cannot recommend this enough. I mean, I could watch this all day long, just spray painting. How satisfying is that? So one of the great things about Surf Prep is that you don't have to actually have a Surf Prep sander in order to use their sanding pads. So they do make them for all different brands. They even make them for like drywall sanders now. So you don't have to own a Surf Prep sander in order to get the benefit of their sanding pads and sanding sheets. They do make them for all kinds of brands. So I'm going to put a link in the description for Surf Prep, as well as a discount code. So make sure you go on there and stock up on their Pro Foam pads, sanding sheets, and all the other goodies they have. So this sprayer is still new to me, and I'm getting the hang of it. So I accidentally sprayed a little too heavy in some areas when I did the second coat, but that's okay because there's an easy fix. I grabbed a medium grit Surf Prep Pro Foam pad and went over the surface with a little bit of pressure until it smoothed out. I did do another coat of paint on it after I fixed all of those areas, but it's all good. And because I spray with the drawers in, when I am done spraying, I pull those out and I paint the edges that were missed. I knew from the get-go what kind of hardware I wanted to use, so I ordered some, but when I received it, it was just orange. They look so orange to me. I just did not like it, so I decided to scuff sand them, and they already started looking better right after I started scuff sanding them, but that's all right. And then I had some metallic gold paint, and I went over it with that, and I was so much happier with how it turned out. Once the drawer edges were dry, I went back over everything with a top coat. I'm using General Finishes High Performance Top Coat in satin, and I'm using my Wagner Flexio 5000 to spray that on. Next step, as we are getting closer to the finish line, is lining the drawers. Now, for whatever reason, this is one of my least favorite parts. It's just kind of tedious and can be such a pain, but I love the way it looks, so that's why I continue doing it. It's been a few minutes, so let's take a look back at where we started. Very red and very, very damaged. And here she is. Can you believe this is the same piece? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you think I should have done something different, or if you hated it, or if you love it, let me know. If you want to know what products I use, don't worry, I got you. All products are listed with links in the description. And make sure to subscribe. I've got some amazing projects coming up and you are not going to want to miss them. Bye.